Okay, here we are to talk about main idea. And today, our objective is that I can look beyond the obvious and use multiple pieces of strong evidence to find an author's main idea. So really quickly, let's go back to see what we're talking about when we mean main idea. So over the past few lessons, we have gone through a lot to get to this point. We have gone through identifying text structure to start seeing what idea the author is probably trying to focus on, to looking at the author's specific word choice or diction to see what specific topics and connotations or feelings that the author is providing us, to finding the specific details that seem really strong and connect together to really give us an idea of what the author is trying to say. So keep in mind that sometimes there may be a sentence where the author does directly state their main idea. If so, this is often going to be the topic sentence. However, it might not be there, or there might be more to that isn't explicitly stated. That's why we go through all of these steps. These steps come together to help us really analyze what the author is saying, both explicitly and implicitly as their main idea. By the way, here is the definition that we are using for main idea, so do make sure that you get this in your notes. All right, so these are the things that an author's main idea can include. The overall big idea of the section or piece of text, the lesson or something they really just want you to know, or even their opinion, or it could be any combination of these things. So here's something to know. We are talking about the main idea being one paragraph or one section of a text, not necessarily an entire text. This is important to know because in these longer pieces, the author may have multiple main ideas spread throughout the text that later link up to one larger central idea or even multiple central ideas that you're supposed to get out of this. But for now, we are concentrating on just one section, so keep that in mind with your own work. And just know it is okay to have different main ideas in different paragraphs or sections of an article. So it's not like the author is losing their focus. It's just they're focusing on multiple things that will link back together later. So let's go back to the example that we've been working with. So we did decide the text structure here is cause and effect, which means the author really wants us to focus on the effects of particular events in history. In this case, we are talking about the effects of the slave trade. We then investigated diction, which were our yellow highlighted words here. And these showed us big topics of migration as a cause. That was a very neutral word, that migration. And then the author's feelings being very negative towards the effects of this, having words like death, enforced, and dangerous being here. We then went very deeper into this to look at multiple supporting details to give us specific things to focus on and provide as proof of our eventual main idea. These details gave us information about the time scale that we're looking at, who was involved, and specific effects, down to the fact that this may have cut Africa's population growth in half, which is unbelievable to really think about. So now that we have all of these things linked together and we have reread our section like good close readers, we are going to go back to our tracker pyramid here. So here on the organizer, we have pulled in those details to focus on. One thing I do want to point out is that if we find we need any more information or evidence at this stage, we can always go back to the original text and add more to this graphic organizer. That is always an okay thing to do. However, it is good to have only this information in front of us at the moment, just to help us really pay attention to these focal points that we're using. So looking at that diction section down here, we do have a lot of words with negative connotations. So that is helping us get the opinions of the author that we definitely want to add into our main idea somehow. And we are going to put that main idea up where it says main supporting ideas. And just a quick aside, that is only called that because this is the supporting idea this is the main idea for this section, but it is supporting the overall ideas in the entire article. So that's why we're calling it that. So again, negative emotions will be mentioned there. But we also want to look at the details that we pull. These details really make me think that the author wants us to see who caused the problem and understand the impact of the slave trade was horrible on Africa overall, not just on the individuals that we usually think about. So I'm going to pull all this together in one sentence that clearly explains what I think the author's point is, along with their opinion. Remember, this is about the author's opinions and points, not about mine. So I do want to make sure it's very clear that it's not my opinion. Okay, so here I have a sentence that I'm entering in this section, which is the European slave trade had a devastating impact on the African population, both in overall lives lost and the continent's population growth. So this sentence is showing what the author is trying to say overall in the text, that this was really bad on population and there's a lot of death and everything. And it's clearly linked to the multiple things that I already picked out as supporting details. And it's not just the slave trade was bad. It actually goes a little more into the reasons that it was bad. It was a little more specific. So it's showing that we've thought and analyzed this information a little bit more. And so there you have it. The whole process, getting to the main idea, is not just looking at one sentence or what's on the surface, but really goes deeper and looking at all the pieces to see what every piece is really trying to have you focus on so that we can get a deeper, better understanding of what the author wants us to know.